Okay, welcome back everyone, and we are into the top 8 of the New Zealand National Championship. So we've got a good one lined up for everyone. We've got Matt Rogers, the man himself. He is not playing Icelander. He's on the old man Oldhim versus Marko Zutic, our number 1 seed playing Bravo. So I'm back here, aka Mr. Classic. I'm here with Kiki Labad.
Thanks for having me again.
Thanks for joining us. So yeah, we've got, so this is actually a rematch from one of the last Swiss rounds where Marko actually managed to take down Matt in this, not quite a mirror, but the Guardian-ish mirror.
Yeah.
So we will see if, if Matt learned a few lessons from that, has adjusted his game plan, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, very exciting stuff. Matt Rogers has top 8'd here, so he's going to see if he can complete the Team Dragon Shield trifecta, winning each of their respective nationals.
That's true, with Nick Butcher taking down Australian Nationals and Tarek taking down Canadian Nationals. He's trying to make it 3 from 3 for the team.
Yeah, very exciting stuff.
But we've got the big bold Bravo standing in the way at the moment.
Mm-hmm. And as the number 1 seed, and did he get the win before? He did, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Marko did get the win before.
Yeah. So it's going to be an uphill battle for Matt Rogers, which doesn't happen very often.
Yep. So we'll have to see how this one plays out, because it's actually a sort of a bit of a rematch, not the players, but the matchup from the Auckland Battle Hardened that we had earlier this year, which was an Oldhim versus Bravo final, where Bravo actually managed to take down that one.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be curious to see how these players, what the game plan is for this. If the Oldhim goes for some of that more bit of aggressive go wide with things like Zealous Belting and Light and Strike, Rouse the Ancients.
Yeah.
And similarly, if on the Bravo side they elect to go for a similar game plan, or if he's going to lean more into sort of this like pummel style strategy.
Yeah. I presume that Matt Rogers is on the bigger attacks, the kind of the glacial footsteps and the red thunder quakes and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I believe we saw both Red Glacial and Red Thunderquake, like you mentioned. I know we may actually just try and hold the deck list for you so we can have a look through it as we go along. I will see if I can track those down.
Yeah, but if that is the case, then it probably plays more into like the fatigue-ish style of Oldhim in this case, where if you're forcing your opponent to block out with 3 cards, not without dominate, then you can try to like maybe fatigue the Bravo as you can defend better with your hero ability.
Absolutely. So things like to keep an eye on if it does go down to more fatigue, grind out matchup. As you mentioned, Oldhim having access to things like Crown of Seeds, the hero ability, Rampant of the Ram's Head, able to defend out a lot of damage without actually giving away any cards. I think one interesting thing to note is it appears some of these Oldhim decks have trended away from some of the older versions where they had quite heavy Earth blue counts or Earth cards in general to activate the Oldhim hero ability. I feel some of them have elected to go for more of that aggressive style with these big red attacks like the Glacial and Thunderquake.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, I'm quite excited to see how this plays out. So we see the Sledge of Anvilheim presented by the Oldhim player, and Bravo, interestingly, going for the Anathos. I know in previous times they have actually gone with the Sledge as well, just to guarantee that 4 pitch for 6 attack.
Yeah. I guess when you have access to the tectonic plating, the Anathos is almost like that. Almost, always. Yep. But not necessarily. If you end up with a couple of cards that don't cost 3, then it could make a difference here and there, just how much damage.
And the Blessing of Deliverance here, we did see this from Marko way back in round 1 actually. So good story for Marko. He lost round 1 and proceeded to win, I think, 9 or 10 games in a row. So Blessing of Deliverance, a bit of life gain. I think we saw all 3 previously.
Yeah. And he's been doing things, drawing cards with it, and it just kind of allows him to sculpt his hand a bit without letting Matt mulligan a bit by attacking. Oh, he could, of course, still attack with the Anathos, we'll see. If he's going for a fatigue game plan, that might be the go here. But he might also try to dominate and attack, leak some damage through while there's no arsenal from that, so he can't use Crown or any defense reactions from the arsenal.
Okay, so choosing just to play the Blessing and a Seismic Surge here. For the rest of our top 8, just to let everyone know, we've got 3 Oldhims, 3 Briars, an Icelander, and a Bravo, of course.
He's dealt 1 damage to himself. Yep, it's corrected now.
Okay, so we do see the E-Strike and the Rouse, and that's 2 of those sort of go again, go wide aggressive cards gone. So I feel like Marko's probably going to be pretty happy initially. We'll see what Matt's game plan is here though, if he's actually not too concerned about giving those up early.
Yeah, again, he might just be trying to go for the plan where, I've talked to Matt about this matchup previously. I know he likes to be a bit more on the conservative side of things, to try to grind out the game that way. So maybe he sees the Blessings of Deliverance, realizes that the Bravo is going to go through the deck maybe a little bit faster, and as a result try to maybe fatigue him.
And immediately here we see the Command and Conquer come down, with the potential threat of the Pummel.
Mm-hmm.
One thing to note, I mean, if the Pummel does come down, that will mean there's no Arsenal card, but probably pretty happy with that exchange.
Yeah, like if the Bravo ends up attacking back with Anathos after this post-Pummel, then Matt on Oldhim is kind of just happy to block 2 cards and swing with the Anvil again until he can kind of get the Arsenal, maybe with the Tunic, and get his card advantage that way.
Yeah, and just one thing to note on the equipment here, we see a fairly standard Bravo setup. I believe that's the, fairly standard Oldhim setup. We've got the Ironhide legs down there. And we see the Mage Master boots on the Bravo. I know some Bravo players really like to play this for the, generally that time of Findale sort of big pivot turn.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Do we know if he has any tools to go wide with the kind of sheer number of cards he'll have in his hand with the tome? Or is he just looking maybe to dominate a big attack off that?
Yeah, well, I guess we'll just have to see. I mean, I don't know if the 3 Blessing of Deliverance, just that sheer amount of life gain with this in the time, if that's going to help him out in a sort of very long fatigue matchup. It doesn't give you cards, but life total equals cards sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. When you're down to 1 and having to block, it'd be nice to have a bit more life to keep some cards in the late game.
It is a good point you made, though, because the thing is, time to find out, it's all well and good having sort of 5-ish cards. Okay, a very early Crown of Providence block here.
This is very early.
So this is coming down on turn 1, and you have to feel Matt would be pretty happy with this.
Now, he might still consider a Pummel here. Maybe he's concerned about a 5-card hand at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Pummel, would still be coming through for 8 damage in total over here. Still strips the card from Marko's hand. It would mean no access to Arsenal for defense reaction if he's concerned about something like a big Crippling Crush coming back.
Yeah, or a Crown. So for sure, there's definitely a lot of decision points being made here. And this is assuming he even has the Pummel. We haven't seen his hand, so we can't be certain.
Okay, so it feels potentially just the threat of that Pummel managed to pull out the Crown, and like I say, I'm not going to second guess Marko because he's been out on an absolute tear, but you have to think getting rid of one of the big block equipments early is quite nice. And there we see gaining 2 life. Now, I feel unfortunately for Marko, he has given away the information of that Pummel there.
Yeah.
I think we've been saying it all weekend, some of these reveal effects, they're not free. Things like Tome of the Arcanite we saw previously. Giving away information actually is very important.
Yeah, so Matt's going to be very aware of that Pummel, and will probably only take the Pummel if he feels like he can. Otherwise, Marko might have to just pitch that and try to second cycle it and see if Matt remembers where it is in the deck. So he's making a token for now.
Seismic Surge coming down.
And here's the Bravo Hero ability, so he's got 4 cards. There's going to be a big attack here, and it is that Crippling Crush you called.
So the Crippling Crush dominate. This may be an indication of why he decided to give that Crown early. Again, slightly risky in the sense that I believe Oldhim plays a fair number of defense reactions and also access to Crown and other things. So also equipment blocks up. Clearly, Marko would love for this one to connect.
Yeah.
So that's coming down for 2, 3, 4, 5. Are we going to see something like a Sink Below to bring this over the top?
Perhaps Staunch Response? No, Sink Below 9. Okay.
Okay, so the Faith of Sin comes out, allowing Matt to opt 1. So he's only taking 2 damage from this Crippling Crush. And like we say, not to sort of go on about it, but the Crown of Providence is down very early.
Yeah. The upside is he does still get an Arsenal. So it's not entirely bad. And I guess he figured that the Crown of Providence, the Crown of Conquer would have taken too much tempo away from him, perhaps. He didn't want to play too conservatively, and maybe was concerned about a Pummel this early, not knowing where they are in the deck at this point.
Absolutely, and there's a chance he just asked him something like a blue card early on, and just wanted to get that away.
Yeah, very true. But we'll see how that comes into play when perhaps we get to the second cycle and there's an Oakenhold.
Okay, and it looks like he's also going to Ice React here, getting rid of the last card in Marko's hand.
There goes that Arsenal we were talking about.
Yep, so this will allow Matt, we'll see how he wants to approach this here, because I believe he has 2 cards left remaining. So he does have access to the Sledge if he wants, which will leave him without an Arsenal card, but maybe he's happy with that.
Yeah. Yep, there we go.
Okay, and he pitched in, we can't quite see that red card there.
I think it's a Pummel.
Yeah, it might be a Pummel.
The word looks short enough to be Pummel. But we have 6 damage here, and I think he was kind of okay with taking 2 damage, and he's applying pressure back. If Marko wants to apply big pressure back, he's going to have to take the damage here. Otherwise, again, Matt's kind of in this position where he's fine trading 2 cards for 2 cards until he can use Tunic to tackle Sledge and get 2 cards for 1.
A little bit of advantage there over the course of the long game.
Yeah.
Now, one thing to note is Matt is aware of that pummel that was revealed previously of the Blessing Deliverance. Playing this the way he did actually help to mitigate. You know, he didn't see a CNC, but potentially the threat of a CNC pummel is not as impactful without that card in Arsenal.
Yeah.
So, you know, just kind of some small things here.
Yeah, seeing 3 of the 4 cards. It could, of course, also be the 4th card, but unlikely at this point.
Okay, so do we have access to the deck list here as well that we'll have a quick look through? Okay, so it looks like, yeah, you can see Marko definitely has a... okay, here we see a Crippling Crush.
And he still gets to keep an Arsenal card again. So this one looks like it's not dominated. Yep, there's not enough resources for that. But this is a massive threat once again.
Yep, and now Matt will be well aware that the last card in hand is the pummel here. So he's going to be pretty safe just maybe defending this out with, say, 3 cards.
Yeah. There's a chance, you know, he blocks 3 cards and just Arsenals and he's kind of fine with that. He's still ahead on the life. Again, Marko took 6 to make this play.
Okay, defending for 6 here, and then we see the sink below come down. And as you mentioned, Kiki, previously, just looking at the turn cycles here, this sets up the Sledge for 6 off the Tunic of 1 card.
Or if he chooses Arsenal, he can then crown using the Tunic. But nope, there we go, there's the Sledge for 6. This again, forcing Marko to respect the pressure that's being attached here. If he wants to play this pummel, he's probably going to take some damage again.
And I feel like Matt will be pretty happy with how these first few turns have gone. Yeah, there's 2 Crippling Crushes gone.
Yeah. I think this is very much the pace he likes to play in this matchup. He really likes the weapon in this matchup.
And just the life totals here, you know, Matt coming up to establishing a quick 6 life lead here. And also he's got full information of that pummel in the Arsenal.
Yeah.
We'll be curious to see as this game goes on. Like, I mean, CNC pummel, of course, when you have Crown of Seeds, definitely mitigates that effect anyway. Okay, so here we see a Tear Asunder Anathos play come in for 7, so very powerful, getting the +1 dominate and the discard effects.
Yep, and he's aware that Matt doesn't have an Arsenal, and he's also used a sink below already, so he feels probably fairly confident that this is going to hit. There's no crown activation here, so it's going to be difficult for Matt to block this entirely for 7 damage.
Yeah, so just having a quick look here, Marko's pretty committed to this sort of go tall strategy, so it looks like he, you know, he's not playing some of the ones that have rose to prominence, a bit like the E-Strikes as Alice Beltings. Okay, so the staunch response is going to shut down the Tear Asunder play here, so pretty timely draw for Matt there.
Yeah, a very clean block. Marko was definitely hoping to get that hit effect and try to get some of the tempo back, but just having the 2 cards there, and this is kind of where the Sledge shines over the Anathos, like just being able to pitch for 4 to attack with it for 6. You know, if Marko had the similar kind of thing, he wouldn't have the 6 power here.
Yeah, and not quite sure if that's a Zealous Belting or a Sink Below that was pitched there.
That looks like a Zealous Belting based off the color of the card on the art.
Yep, okay, so so we've seen, okay, so it looks like he is playing, you know, he's brought in those E-Strikes and Zealous Beltings, and he looks like he's happy to sort of set that up for the late game.
Yeah, I think so as well. Just really kind of punish, like, the hand, I guess. Forcing multiple blocks when you start being low enough. Zealous Belting is really good in the Oldhim deck, just to get multiple attacks that kind of leak over that 3. If they want to block 6 on that, again, you're happy with that.
Neither player also playing Remembrance in this matchup, so you know, when those Cripplings are gone, they're not coming back. One kind of interesting thing I like to see from Marko's list here is he is running the Last Ditch Effort, which I think we haven't seen for quite some time.
Haven't seen that since, what, Crucible or Arcane Rising days, maybe?
Yeah, so that actually is like not the worst sort of alternate plan to, you know, to win out the game at the end.
I'll also note that while neither player has Remembrance, Matt does have access to 2 So Tomorrow, so we could see some Oakenold setups, which is at the bottom perhaps.
Okay, so far I think Matt is controlling the pace of the game fairly well, you have to say. So that pummel has been stuck in Marko's Arsenal for a while. We'll see if he wants to get rid of it here to set up a different Arsenal card.
Yeah, he does have access to that. I guess the danger here is if he plays the pummel, then Matt can ice rake the last card, leaving him with no Arsenal. He did block with a nice card here though, but here we go. Here's the pummel just trying to clear out the Arsenal and maybe leak some damage. But we'll see if Matt is okay with letting him have an arsenal or okay with taking 4.
It looks like Matt's deck is equipped quite well to deal with some of these sort of go-to strategies here with access to, you know, the full 3 Staunch responses, access to multiple Sinks and Fates. So I don't believe he's playing Blue Staunch, so that'll be something to keep an eye on as the game goes on, because I think we've seen 1 Sink, 1 Fate, 1 Staunch so far.
Yeah.
And right on schedule is the Ice React there to get rid of that last card.
Yeah, so clearly he values the not having an arsenal here. He takes 4 here regardless, but it just means that he's able to prevent some of the damage next turn potentially. He just arsenals this time. Obviously he doesn't have enough of the sludge there. Tunic not being active just yet. But we could see a 3-card block here maybe.
Mm-hmm. It looks like Matt's just playing towards these turn cycles again, as you mentioned, you know, just that Tunic ticking up to 3, being able to just, if you need to, give away 1 card and then set up the sledge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here we just see a big Spinal Crush come down for 9, not dominated.
Mm-hmm.
So Marko feels pretty, pretty comfortable here with just throwing down these big attacks. We saw the Crippling Crush not dominated, Spinal Crush not dominated.
Yeah.
Being happy just to like play these out to trade some cards away.
Yeah, for sure. Like, they're still leaking some damage, is kind of the important thing here, despite not having Dominate. And you don't really want Oldhim to just have cards in hand, so you're not too upset if Matt ends up blocking with multiple cards. That means there isn't a Red Thunderquake coming your way, perhaps.
Yeah, and like I mentioned about these, the access to the Earth cards here, it looks like Matt's only running 5 in the entire list, so maybe that Earth React on Oldhim, you know, there's, I mentioned Rampart, which was incorrect, of course, because they play Sledge in this matchup, but, you know, just saying there's not some of those sort of, you know, up to 12 Earth cards we may have seen in previous builds, just the 5 in the Crown. So
yeah.
Potentially, as far as the fatigue strategy goes, not that really big inherent advantage.
I think, for the most part, he's going to be pitching them. I think he's going to avoid blocking them, like so tomorrow blocks for 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if it gets to that point, they'll become more relevant at the end of the game.
Yep.
At this point, they're still trading cards, but once they get to the bottom of the deck, that's when you're going to start seeing the advantage from being able to Earth React to preserve your life total over blocking with actual cards in hand.
Okay, so see the second Sink below come out, so that's, if we're on Defense React Watch, that's 2 Sinks, 1 Fate, and a Staunch. So, yeah, that leaves him with, you know, 1, 2, I think he runs 2 Fates, so 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Okay, and here we see the E-Strikes come down. This is just a nice, healthy attack for 7, I think. Oh, actually, no, maybe for 5 go again and then stay the
It could be 5 and 6. Which is not a bad turn, and he didn't leak too much damage, so this is going to be applying a lot of pressure if that's the case. No, it looks like it's a 7 because that's being blocked for 7.
So a clean block from Marko there. This does allow Matt again to utilise that Tunic for the Crown of Seeds and the Arsenal card to set up a bigger hand if he needs to and prevent a little bit of damage.
For sure.
You know, as far as the equipments go, it seems fairly even-ish so far. I mean, I would say, Matt's only used 1 of the blocks on the Crater Fist, the Crown of Providence gone on Marko's side, but he still has that Tectonic and the Crater Fist available.
Yeah, still sitting with 6 life in his equipment. Yeah, and we're just back to the trading cards again. We've got just a 6 here. No cards lost in deck for Marko. He might be starting to realize that maybe he has to keep his deck life a little bit higher.
Yep, so just having a quick look through Marko's list, I can, beginning to understand the choice of Anathos a lot better, because he just has, sideboard or cards in your deck are quite tight, particularly in such a diverse metagame, and he has so many 3 costs or more.
Yeah.
Bravos do generally, but he just has, aside from his defense reaction, things like pummels, he always going to hit. So it looks like that gets out a 2-card block. Wasn't Autumn's Touch there, used to defend, so removing some of the earth density in the deck.
Yeah, for sure. How many Autumn's Touch? So he has 6 earth cards, including the Pulse.
Oh, the Pulse as well. Okay, so we just see another E-Strike come down for 7. I think Matt's pretty happy just to chip away a little bit of damage here and there.
Yep. And again, I'm pretty sure the Oldhim has the advantage when it comes to fatiguing here, so he doesn't mind just trading 1 card for 2 cards.
Yeah, and as far as threat density in the deck goes as well, we've seen, like we said, 2 Cripplings and a Spinal come up from Marko. We haven't seen anything like the Red Glaze Steels, the Red Thunderquakes, or the Oakenolds come out from Matt. So just the good old make a surge, slice him for 6. Keep the damage ticking along.
A play that many people will be familiar with if they've seen Kent McCreath games.
Absolutely. Yeah, I actually quite like Marko's a bit of an old-fashioned Bravo showstopper list, and he's played it to absolutely tremendous success here.
Yep, for sure. Done very well to go 10-2, being the number 1 seed here.
Just while I have a moment, just want to give a quick shout out to DM Armada in the chat there, one of my favourite Flesh and Blood content creators and commentators, so good to see you tuning in. Okay, so Matt just sort of thinking through how he wants to go about this year, potentially considering the crown with the cards available. You know, Marko, again, representing those 2 resources, maybe it's the pummel, and that's another Autumn's Touch thrown in to defend.
Yep.
And we see...
there's the pummel.
Now, that is 2 red pummels, and I know Matt will be keeping track of these.
Mm-hmm. And again, he's probably not even upset about this. Life totals are going to be equal after this crown. And he doesn't have to discard a card here. But he is going to Earth React.
Okay, so he's mitigated that to only take 1 damage here, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that will leave him with a, let's see, 1...
2 cards in hand, I believe.
Oh, yeah, so I'm just keeping track. I think so that's 2 Autumn's Touch gone. So he's still got an Autumn Touch left. And here we see him setting up the Oakenhold, because he's pitched a channel like Frigid. I believe he just pitched an Autumn's Touch. Yeah. So he's setting up that nice Oakenhold natural fuse stack for the late game.
Yeah, beautiful kind of stuff. He just needs to preserve his life total high enough that he's not forced to block with one of those cards. It's not the Earth Ice Pulse. So he's going to need to have that 3rd card also, the 4th card also be a blue to actually play this hand if he wants to fuse it in the late game. So Matt's going to be aware of that and going to do his best to keep his life total high as much as possible.
Okay, I think he's going to be pretty happy getting rid of that Rousey Ancients there. Like you say, some of these ones that allow you to go a bit wide, pretty handy.
Yeah.
And here we see the Anathos as well. Like, the power of the Anathos, you do have the option to just come in for 4 off 1 card. So it's... I think that certainly you can't say one is strictly better than the other. They both have their ups and downs there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the main reason that Oldhim doesn't play Anathos is that there's much fewer 3 cost cards on the deck. Yeah. While the Earth cards and Ice cards they cost 2 normally, and you kind of need those for the Oldhim hero ability. So as a result, you can't really afford to play Anathos as much. But thankfully the Tunic kind of mitigates that. And he takes all 4.
Okay, so we'll see if Matt maybe has something like one of those Red Thunderquakes or Glacials lined up here.
Yeah, here we go.
Right on schedule. I can't quite see. I believe that's a red.
Yeah. It's not fused. I think this is a case of Matt wanting to take more cards from his opponent or not being able to ice fuse it. Maybe he has a red in hand rather than a blue. But here's 3 cards, and Matt's definitely not upset about that.
That's a nice little exchange. 3 cards for 1.
Mm-hmm.
And you chip through damage.
Yep. But again, the Anathos with a 1-card pitch coming through, potentially leaking some damage.
Absolutely, and I do wonder as well if you know, a lot of the Oldhim testing would have been done into the Bravo playing the traditional Sledge build. So if the game plan does have to adjust slightly when you're playing against something like Anathos.
Yeah. But there we get the clean 4 block. It is the 5th defense reaction, correct?
And that's the last Syncolo, I believe, as well. So he still has access to the 2 Staunches and a Fate. But you know, I believe Marko will be keeping track of those as well.
For sure. One of the most important things when you're playing for a second cycle kind of game plan.
And there we see the Zealous Belting start to come in. So this is one of those like very efficient go wide attacks. And just something to notice, I see the Slow Tomorrow is pitched there, so if Marko's keeping track of this, he probably recognises that there are a number of Earth cards gone or on the bottom. Yeah. So he's probably, as far as Earth Reacts go, there's sort of 1 to 2 more Slow Tomorrows, he won't know the exact number, and a pulse that he has to be aware of.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Now, one thing for Matt here is, because he did need to pitch that red, it means if he wants to attack with the Sledge, it will cost him another card.
Yeah.
I'm sure he would have had to, he would have loved to be able to, you know, pitch 2 blues there and come in.
Yeah.
But we can see him as well. I just wanted to point out, stacking away these power cards to the bottom, we see another Glacial red, I believe, going to the bottom of the deck.
Yeah, again going for that second cycle. And those cards will be really punishing at the end of the game when life totals are lower, really forcing every card out of your opponent's hand.
And it's, I feel it's a little bit easier when you're in the booth rather than in the game to be like, oh, it's easy to keep track of this, this, and this.
Yeah.
Wait, what is happening here? Did he... I think he accidentally thought he had an unmovable.
Right.
Ooh, and that is a little bit rough for him. Because not only did he give up the information, he then did not have the opportunity to defend there. So I think he may have, you know, there's a lot of pressure in these top 8 games. I think he may have thought he arsenaled the unmovable or just forgot for a second.
Yeah, and if he does have that unmovable, then this Command & Conquer is especially punishing here.
Yeah, and this also means as well, it gives just, I mean, Matt was probably going to make the same play regardless, but it does mean that Rouse is going to almost certainly going to be trapped. I mean, if he has the dream of Picture Blue, Rouse, and Reveal Pulverize, I mean, that's one way to do it. Okay,
so
Surge in 6, but that's one thing, that's actually quite a big giveaway here, because now he knows the Rouse is stuck there, and he's actually probably going to have a big chance to punish him for that.
Yeah.
Because it just means he knows getting the Rouse is a significant cost. You have to pitch a card, generally reveal 2 cards as well, which means you're only going to be able to defend with 1 card. So if Matt's able to take advantage of that, that Rouse could actually be trapped there for quite some time, or cost him quite a lot of damage.
And he's used the crown already as well. I think Marko was just pointing at his crown as well. That Rouse is going to be difficult to get out of there for sure.
Yeah. And we've seen 2 CNCs, so even if he wants to give it up to a CNC, there's 1 more card.
Yeah, that is a consideration. He could have let that CNC hit for 3 potentially, just to get that out of Arsenal, and then try to set up something different.
Now, here's an opportunity to perhaps leak 3 damage in order to try and clear that Rouse here. But in doing so, that means Matt opens up...
Oh, he's showing us the hand. How convenient.
Okay, that's nice.
He has it. He has it available to him.
Yep, so potentially... I mean, the one thing here is he has 2 reds and 2 blues. So, I mean, if he blocked with something like a Spinal Crush, that does let him set up the, pitch into Rouse, into Arsenal or Crippling. I'm not sure... I mean, sometimes you just have to defend them. He might be a little bit hesitant to give up one of those power cards.
For sure. This is his last Crippling Crush in his hand currently, so I presume he really doesn't want to block with this one at this point. And he also needs it to play the Rouse, I think. If I remember correctly, there was a last-ditch effort, a Crippling Crush, and then 2 other cards I didn't quite catch.
I believe it was Crippling Spinal and 2 blues, I think. But yeah, this is one of those spots where it can be pretty difficult to figure out what to do. Because you're thinking, like, yeah, I give up 1 card, I set up my next turn cycle, but that's the thing I feel we sometimes see in these Bravo vs Oldhim games, that when you let them get ahead, that sort of 6 to 8-ish life range, it really lets Oldhim sort of grind you out and play the game at their pace.
Yeah, it might not go to second cycle, you might have to take more risks and take more damage to try to come back into it, at which point if Bravo's ahead.
So
3
it's 2
reds
Spinals.
and a Crippling Crush in the last-ditch effort.
Oh, that is painful. So that's all 3 Spinal Crushes gone. So this is now going to be just an Amathos for 6.
So he could have blocked 3 there, and again taken damage just to play it, and then not have a follow-up. And maybe he figured that was not enough value, just to turn for 7.
Just a big tempo swing there as well. You're having to basically take 6 damage to come back for 7, defends out, and then you're just quite far behind.
Yeah. So he's probably also aware of what we were just talking about getting too far behind and losing tempo that way. Matt's taking 3 here, it looks.
Okay, so I think that's probably a little bit scary if you're on Marko's side. I guess I closed the life differential, but we're probably going to see
the
Thunderquake.
The red Thunderquake, really pushing pressure. This is half of his life total right here.
Yeah, I mean, it seems, and again, like we talked about that Rouse, that Rouse might just be stuck there for a very, very long time. Because this is probably 3 cards. Yep, and then he can come back with the Amathos. But as well, the thing about the card being stuck in Arsenal, particularly when you want to try pivot on a tome turn, at some point you're probably going to have to take some amount of damage to get that Rouse out. And it's very unfortunate for him. I think he probably would have given up the life to go Rouse into Amathos into card in Arsenal.
Yeah.
But yeah, the 3 red's a little bit punishing there.
Yeah, for sure. He might not even been able to play it. He might have to just play tome from hand, not gain the life.
Yeah, that's certainly an option as well.
Yeah, or just block with the tome, potentially. Because again, you're going to have to take a lot of damage for the tome to maybe draw you out of cards when you could just block with them and make the same kind of play.
And again, we see the power cards being pitched towards the second cycle. That's another Oakenhold being put to the bottom here.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. I feel, life totals are very close here, but I feel at this stage in the game, Matt will be pretty comfortable with how the game is trending, saying that, okay, so electing to take 3 damage there after the crown effect. I feel like we're going to see either a go again attack or a big Glacial Thunderquake.
Yeah. Here's the go again attack. So he's going to be able to attack with the sledge after this, at the cost of his entire hand, but I think he's happy attacking for 13.
And there's the time to find out. We see you, Marko. We see you. And oh man, I mean, one thing is as well here. If Matt didn't know what was an Arsenal, I feel he'd probably be trending towards playing that CNC potentially. But I feel knowing it's the Rousey Ancients, he might just say, look, I'm happy to come in for 7, then 6.
Yep.
And then, yeah, good luck with your routes.
He's very comfortable at this point knowing that the Arsenal is essentially unplayable at this point. So.
Okay, we'll see. I mean, there is a chance here that Marko is open to taking a significant amount of damage to clear that out and try to set up the time turn.
Mm-hmm. But what do you think it'll be too late by that point? If he's taking a significant amount of damage here.
That's okay.
I guess the time could get him back into it.
I mean, he may not even be able to play the rails at this point.
No.
I mean, he's only got 10 power there. The time, obviously, non-attack action.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, Matt clearly happy to have that in his arsenal, pitching that Command and Conquer away.
And I think Marko going, hey, why don't you just play the CNC? Yeah, because that's the thing when you have full knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean, particularly in these long grindy games as well. That's been stuck there for, I think, 4, 5, 6 turns now.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, it's not necessarily a bad card by any means to put in your arsenal, but
yeah,
when it's stuck there.
It's a little bit more unfortunate when your opponent knows about it. And they can kind of expect it if you do manage to keep a whole hand.
And the thing is, that tome is the main card for that Mage Master Boots, maybe the only card really apart from things like Showtime.
Yeah.
So the thing is, if he defends one card, that tome's stuck in his hand, doesn't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I wonder if Marko sort of saw that line of play, that Matt was like not going to go for the CNC there. You know, if he predicted this was the sledge play, maybe he just defends with one card and takes a bit of damage.
Yeah. I was just trying to think if there was a way that he could...
I mean, one option could have been potentially defending with one card into the rails, taking 4, defending with one card into the sledge. But actually, no, that still gets you stuck there. There's just not really a good way to get around it.
If he was potentially able to block with just one card and take a lot of damage, he could then play the tome from hand and hopefully draw it into the Rouse Anathos.
This is quite the dilemma here, because if he defends with 5 to mitigate 1 damage, that's fine, but then Mage Master is just like not very good.
Yeah.
If he defends with 1 card, the tome is stuck in his hand and he can't pitch it to the Anathos, and then he's stuck with it.
And of course, if he blocks to 5, he's not attacking back, and Matt just has full tempo at that point.
Yeah, and I think Matt will probably be quite aware that if he just defends with 1 card here and passes, not even... I mean, I say it's stuck, it's not completely stuck. You could defend with 1 card, pitch the tome to create that seismic surge, and then just like keep the tempo going on like that, but that's not the greatest turn cycle for him here. But I think that tome might be his catch-up mechanic, so he is very leery about giving this away here.
Yeah, for sure.
And he just has to do it, take 1 damage.
Yep, so the Mage Master Boots is most likely turned off for the game.
Yep, and that's his, that's actually really big. I think that is really, really big, because Matt would have been aware that if Marko's able to line up, say, like a big dominate attack or stripping multiple cards into the time play, that's how the game can sort of flip a little bit.
Yeah.
Now that option is just removed.
Yeah, and he didn't get attacked.
Yeah, for those just joining us, yeah, so he has full information of the Rails in Arsenal, because Marko, I believe, may have confused it with an unmovable just in the heat of the moment, revealed it, and yeah, now he knows it's there.
And here we have another 10 damage attack.
And I think at some point in the game, I feel Marko may just need to eat the damage effectively and come in with the Rails.
Yeah.
Okay, so taking 4 here.
The longer this kind of goes, the less time and
Does he
opportunity.
have the pulverize here for the reveal? No.
And he didn't draw the blue for the Anathos. I think this is just a pass.
Oh no. Oh no, oh no, oh no. That's brutal.
2 turns of not attacking Matt there.
Not only does he not be able to attack with Anathos, he's also stuck with a red blessing in hand, which does not help at all with clearing out that Rouse.
No, not at all. Can't even pitch it because he has the 1 floating.
Yep, so, the Winter's Bite, maybe it lets him get rid of that blessing here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it feels that just a few small things have gone wrong for Marko this game, and it's really let Matt sort of take control of the game.
For sure, for sure. Now, if he pitches the Blessing and he has another... Oh, no, he pitches blue. Okay. So he's probably going to block with the Blessing here.
And here we go. The third red Thunderquake comes down.
Making sure everyone knows that it's 10 damage. He's keeping the red Blessing.
Okay, so I believe he wants to pitch the blue to play the Blessing here. Ideally, draw off the Blessing. I mean, he will know the top card of his deck from the Blessing reveal. So I think he wants to pitch to play the Blessing and then pitch to come with Anathos, but he really needs to get the life and not have like a card on top that doesn't work with Anathos. That would be just completely devastating at this point. Okay, so he does have that. 1, 2, 3 life.
3 life.
Back up to 10.
And you'll note he also bottomed from the Fate Foreseen just before as well, so that was possibly not a 3 cost.
Yeah, the opt actually coming in crucial here.
Yeah.
Oh, and does he top deck a blue? And
there we go. And Anathos for 6.
Okay, so this is nice for Marko, and it allows him to sort of reset the game state a little bit. So he's managed to clear out some of those awkward cards. He's coming for 6. He has a potential 3 life gain off the top from the Blessing. So he's gone through 3 Thunderquake reds, 1 Glacial Footsteps red. I believe 2 E-Strikes and 1 Zealous are gone.
Yeah.
So I think what he's really hoping for is that he can get away with Matt just sledging for 6.
Yeah.
Now, one thing to keep in mind is on 10 life, I believe Matt does have access to pummels.
Yeah.
So Marko, he's losing a lot of flexibility moving into late game here.
For sure.
That's the 3rd Blessing of Deliverance. That means... Oh wait, no, that's...
Yep, this
is 3rd Blessing of Deliverance. There's no life gain coming in from the tomes. There's no more life gain in the deck now.
He's at most 13. Be interesting to see if Matt blocks all of this or if he's just going to try to play another big attack. He doesn't just have the 10 damage attacks, he also has 8. And 8 is still a pretty big number when you're on 10. Absolutely.
And I mean, Marko's got to be aware that Matt was pitch stacking early on those Okins and stuff to the bottom. You're able to accelerate to your pitch stack with Crown of Seeds as well.
Now, Matt hasn't been crowning as often as we'd normally expect from most Oldhim players, and I think that's because he's just really prioritizing the damage output here, attacking with Sledge and leaving something in an arsenal, or attacking with an 8 power card, 10 power card.
Absolutely, and there's a little bit of spice we see as well. The Insidious Chill in the deck from Matt, so I'm not sure if it's necessarily in for this particular matchup, maybe more to some of the aggro decks. But it is quite cool for things like Oakenall. It can be revealed to that just as like a massive spike turn. I mean, Oakenall dominate, please pay 2 resources and lose your whole hand, thank you.
Yeah, I presume it's just in here as a blue at this point, but he maybe has it to try to get a Mage Master boots with the expose the elements.
Yep, so here, I mean, this is actually representing lethal through a pummel. So, choosing to defend with 2 cards. Is Matt going to pummel it to just sort of drop him really down into that danger zone?
He is. And there's an unmovable. So there's 0 damage.
So that's fully blocked. So Matt's going to be, probably fine with that exchange. He just gets the Arsenal's card, set up a 5-card hand. There's going to be nothing coming back from Marko this turn, and he really needs to gain 3 life here. really needs to gain 3 life here.
Now, if he does, the life totals are a lot closer again. There's
1, 2, 3. Now, this is critical. That Pulverize is massive here, because that might be his card to clear out that Rousing Ancients.
That is the 1-card Rouse right there.
Yep, so I feel Matt is, if he doesn't have a big pressure attack here, I think he may look to Crown away to find something good.
Yeah.
Okay, so going back up on life. Now, Marko does have access to the Tectonic Plating, the Crater Fist here. I'm not sure we'll see those sort of, chucked into the fray just yet, but he does have access to those to kind of try even up life totals a little bit.
Yeah, if we do see something like a Oakenall, he does have some means of potentially stopping it.
So we mentioned Matt dropping some of those defense reactions early, but he still has access to a lot of defensive power here. Ironhide Leg still active. Here we see Matt filtering. I think he appreciates here, like, I've got to keep up the tempo. Oh no, this is very...
And there's the pulse. There we go. 9 damage. So he knows 3 of Marko's cards in hand, so he's asking him if he has the unmovable, essentially.
Oh no, this is brutal, because he can defend for 4, 5, 6, 7 with the equipment plus a card from hand. I mean, he's gone through a few fates, he knows the Arsenal card isn't one.
It has to be strictly that last card he doesn't know about.
And I don't think Marko has it here.
I don't think so either. Oh, that's a tough break. He might even lose the Pulverize with the random, not quite discard, the random.
To the bottom.
Yeah.
And I believe that's one of Pulverize as well, so that could not have lined up any worse for Marko there.
Mm-hmm. I almost feel bad for calling the shot.
Yeah. That is probably the worst card Marko would be facing down here. I mean, just bulk damage on something like a Thunderquake or Glacial is still bad.
Yeah.
Or go again, like, the Zealous into Sledge turn.
Yeah. He's blocking the Pulverize, knowing that he's probably not going to get a chance to play it after this turn.
Okay, so he's defending for 5 here. Does he have the Defense Reactor's last card? He does not. So he takes 4. So actually electing to block what is sort of, in a way, vanilla damage here with the Crater Fist, because it's not stopping the on-hit. But I think one reason I can sort of see he's doing that is because I need to keep my life total high enough that I'm not sort of constantly forced into these, like, lethal through pummel,
for sure.
or just like big dominate attacks coming through for lethal without utilizing your equipment.
Yeah, like you have the equipment in this matchup mainly for these dominated attacks. So you need to use them when you get dominated to kind of stay in the game and not fall too far behind. Again, we see a 1-card Anathos attack. One of the upsides is that it is still a breakpoint, even at 1 card.
So I feel these blessings have done a lot of work for Marko in this game. Actually, gaining him significant amount of life to sort of keep his life totals close. But I think Matt is getting sort of closer and closer to his second cycle now.
Yeah.
I've been trying to keep track with everything going on, so I don't have the exact thing for you. But I think that Autumn's Touch is actually... I think he's there.
The pulse.
I think that was the Autumn's Touch and Oakenol that may have been pitched earlier in the game. And now he's down to the... So back-to-back Oakenol's revealed through Pulse. And the bad news for Marko is that what this also means is we're going to start seeing some of those Red Glacial footsteps as well start coming up.
And again, they don't necessarily need to be dominated if it's just going to take every card. But,
that's Alice Belton, I think he pitched, may have been the one he pitched at the start of the game from the last turn cycle.
Yeah. But then again, if Marko's low enough, then the dominate will just win the game on the spot, potentially. And here we have 6.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Matt knows that the Arouse has been trapped, so you can't even put a defense reaction in Arsenal, it's just stuck.
Yeah.
Oh, and the pummel!
He wants every card.
Oh no. So Matt's going to choose how he wants to do this here, whether the discard or the card on the bottom goes first.
Yep.
So he's going to say these 2 on bottom, and discard the last card, please. So that's coming through for 13 on 6, that's 7 damage, dropping Marko to 2 here.
Yeah.
And I believe that is a Red Glacial coming up, which would represent lethal. So Matt's been playing this really well. It's a bit unfortunate for Marko how this has sort of occurred. That Rouse has literally been stuck the entire game since he revealed it for the unmovable.
Yeah.
Or since he thought it was the unmovable.
Revealed it.
And honestly, it seems weird, but I've done this plenty of times in games as well. Just getting sort of lost a little bit in the action and not being sure what's coming up.
We have to remember this is his 13th game this weekend.
Yep.
So, mistakes do happen, we are all human.
Hey mate, that Rouse? It's going to cost you 1 more. Okay, so even like a Sledge here is just lethal even through the 2 equipment, so it's going to take away a card.
Yep. Again, at this point, Matt's just happy trading water.
Yep. Because the thing is, he knows he can strip at least 1 card per turn here, and he's so far ahead on life that he's just buying as much time as he needs to pick up these dominate attacks to win the game.
Yep. And Matt will just be happy taking 2 cards, like we said, and then trading 2 cards until he gets to that point.
And they did play each other in the Swiss, so Matt is probably pretty well aware of most of the cards in Marko's deck, and vice versa. So that means he knows that there's just blue unmovables and then Fates and Sinks. So he knows the big attack is going to be lethal without a defense reaction arsenal, because he can only defend for 2 plus, say, 5 from hand.
I just want to make a quick note about how Matt made it very clear that the chattel, the ice card, was going underneath before the rest of the pitch.
Yep. Just to make sure you don't want to lose, you don't want to fumble the game, losing your channel for no reason in the end.
Exactly. Yep. Always good to be clear about that. So he does have 6 resources to still do the Seismic Surge Anathos play.
And here we see him just powering through that deck towards the to get the perfect setup.
Yeah. He did pitch one fairly soon after the Oakenol, right? Yep. Here we go, and there's the fuse.
Here's the Glacial Fuse we talked about coming up, and that is just going to be lethal. Yep.
And that's the game.
That's the game. So, he got to that third Crippling Crush. So, Matt Rogers proceeding on to the semi-finals. A very well played game. I mean, obviously, a very brutal mistake with Illuminate Rouse the Ancients. In saying that, like, it's not necessarily that was the only... It's, like, by no means the only reason why Matt won, because of that. It just meant he was able to really adjust his game plan and play it in a certain way, I feel.
For sure. And like we said, like, the information is so important, even if it's unintentional here, but, like, Matt was able to formulate a game plan, not playing Command & Conquer specifically, and just know that he can kind of clog out the Dark Skull and make it dead for the remainder of the game. It cost him the tome, as he's showing with the Mage Master boots. It looks like they're having the same discussion.
Because that's the thing, just denying your opponent. One thing in hindsight, I feel Marko potentially may have needed to look to eat a bit of damage early in the game, just to clear out that rouse.
I agree. Even if it's just a rouse for 7 that's still slightly bigger than an Anathos, but more importantly, it allows you to open up your arsenal to play the remainder of the game and try to set up something bigger. Like, it's really crucial to have that arsenal to set up these big plays, because Guardians require so many resources from hand.
Yep.
So, if you're not able to do that, and that arsenal's there, like, this Oldhim now has so much more card advantage from you, because you're not able to go through your deck faster and set up that play.
Yeah, and I do appreciate from Marko's side, like you said, like, you don't really want to fall sort of 8 to 9 life behind an Oldhim player in the mid game, because
For sure.
they're just so very efficient at preventing damage and pressuring you themselves. But I feel in hindsight, if Marko backs the game, he may have felt that maybe there was a turn where he could have given up something to try and get that rouse out of the way.
Yeah.
And just the absolutely brutal Pulverize matching up with the Okanold coming through back through from the pitch stack. And he's going to open the gold on. Okay.
Oh, we love to see it. We love to see it.
Okay, what's it going to be?
Oh, it's 9? Is it 9?
9+, so they're all
no,
going
it's 9 plus?
just to ensure. Okay, so he's saying, please make it be a tectonic plating.
And that's a ghostly touch.
A ghostly touch, so that's kind of the opposite of the guy. That's kind of the anti-Guardian card, right? Rather than the Guardian card.
It is the reason why Oldham's play exposed to the elements. It is my favorite art in Uprising, though, to be fair.
Yeah,
I really love the art.
Well, I suppose, it may not have been one he necessarily wanted, so hopefully he's not feeling that sort of rubs a little bit of salt in the wound, but hey, a gold foil is a gold foil. Ghostly Touch has seen a lot of play in various decks across the metagame, so I feel it's a card that's going to be, present in the metagame for a little while.
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely underrated when it first was spoiled, but it's definitely been a bit of a Guardian killer in those matchups if they're not able to deal with it appropriately.
I have to say, Ghostly Touch is one of the coolest looking cards in my mind as well, so...
For sure.
Okay, well, I suppose that wraps up the first quarter-final. We will be back shortly. We'll see if we can get some information on the other results in the other quarter-final games. This one, people might think Guardian vs Guardian, it's a slow grind-out matchup, but these guys actually powered through it pretty quickly, I have to say.
Yeah. I think the important thing in Guardian matchups is, like, especially in Swiss, you have to know what your game plan is so you don't hit time. So when you see these high-level Guardian players, they already kind of know what they're doing back and forth so much that, they're not going to be spending so long tanking. And it means that we get nice, crisp, clean, fast games, despite it being such a slog and how many turns there are.
And then Matt's saying, here's a little consolation prize for you, mate. Have some Team Dragon Shield sleeves. I'm sure Marko appreciates it. Well, anyway, I just want to give a huge congratulations to Marko for making it this far, particularly after taking the round 1 loss, rattling off 9 wins in a row to just lock himself into top 8, I believe, right from there. So really showing, good perseverance doing that.
Yeah.
I feel he has to be a little bit disappointed with how this game went, particularly with that unfortunate error. But full credit to Matt for showing why, it's one of the best players in the game.
Yeah.
Just an Oldhim clinic there, and particularly, it wasn't his fault the card got revealed, but he utilised his game plan and adapted and played around that. So
made the most of the opportunities given to him, for sure.
Well, thank you very much for tuning in, everyone. Do not go anywhere. Stay tuned. We will be back very shortly with some semi-final action.